Hello, friend. Welcome to the New Luminaries podcast. My name's Yannick, and today I'm going to teach you how to turn your problems into profit. Now, I know people say, and it has been said, more money, more problems, but I'm going to challenge you today, and I'm going to say more problems equals more money. Now, people try to pretend like running a business, starting your dream, chasing your vision, like it's not an emotional process, but it's actually very emotional, especially when you're putting it all on the line. And if you're someone like me, you care deeply about the things that you do. You want to show up, you want to show out, you want to progress, and you don't want to lay down at night and feel like you've wasted your time. And I get that, friend. And one of the most difficult parts about being a leader, whether you're a leader within an organization or a leader in your own organization, is dealing with the problems. Now, I know I'm supposed to say challenges. That is the politically correct thing to say. It sounds, more positive. I even put something into like ChatGPT and they're like, we're changing this to challenges. And I'm like, have we really canceled the word problem? Because guess what? When you go to sleep, or you're trying to go to sleep, but you can't, that thing is a problem. But that's okay. I'm going to teach you how to turn your problems into profit. And I've actually earned a living, a pretty good living, off of turning problem children even, into profit. So let's begin. First off, when I first started a business, I was very... Is the word problem adverse? Basically, I did not want to deal with any problems whatsoever. I saw them as nuisances, whether it was from my employees complaining to clients, to customers, to this, to that. I just wanted everything to be smooth sailing. Like, look, everyone just come in here, do a great job, get in line, and let's go home. How well do you think that worked? If you said not at all, you're right. If you gave any number other than 0% and not at all, you are absolutely wrong. And so really, I had to change my mindset and understand that problems are okay. I'm not going to say they're good, but they can be good if you learn how to turn your problems into profit. So I'm going to start off with just some basics, some basics. Firstly, we're all being challenged. We're all being challenged. We are being challenged to improve our capacity. We're being challenged to mentally and emotionally show up every day despite, we're being challenged to be the innovators, the trendsetters, and being put in the forefront. We're being challenged to shine our light. That's the name of our group, the New Luminaries. Why? Because we're the new group of people that are going to shine our light into this world. Another reason why, like a very important reason why this is important is, look, I hate to break it to you, but the world is getting crazier and things are not getting easier. But what that means is we're going to need more leaders like yourself to show up and show out. And I know you want to. You just need the strategy to get there. And so the first thing I want to challenge you to say and to really think is that every great business is built upon answering and solving a problem, whether it's a plumbing problem, a technological problem, a financial problem. For me, an organizational problem. Those are the types of problems that I solve. A software problem, a beauty problem, a health problem. Every business is built upon finding a solution to a problem. And the bigger the problem, the more you can charge for the solution, friend. And so I'm going to invite you to shift your perspective on problems. Instead of seeing them as hindrances, I want you to see them as an opportunity to, one, build your capacity, but secondly, to improve your influence, your relationships, and your financial state. So let's jump into it. First thing is, there's 3 things to know about problems. Challenges. Number 1, problems help you to increase your capacity. Every time you're looking to go to the next level in some form or fashion, you have to equip yourself to better solve problems. And you know what? This is really, really key. None of us would grow We would all be stagnant and in the same place if we didn't have problems. If we didn't have problems. Problems, they're what make us, eat better. They make us go to bed earlier. Like, oh, I have a problem with my energy levels. Guess what? Well, I'm sorry. I had one. I had problems with my energy levels. Guess what I had to do? I had to find some solutions. I had to start going to bed earlier, eating more vegetables, eating healthier, less sugar, less coffee, less all of these things. And now I feel amazing. But if I would have never run into that problem, I would have never come to those solutions, or I would have never tried. I would have just kept on eating like crap and just moving forward with my day. Problems in your finances, they make you better stewards. Yes, it's losing money that makes you hold on to it a lot better. Amen. Somebody say amen. All right. And so problems help us to grow. And guess what? All of your goals, all of your dreams are connected to you personally growing. So that's number one. Problems help us to increase our capacity. Number two, problems help us to avoid complete disaster. They help us to avoid complete and utter disaster. Without that problem, you'd hit the iceberg. I'm sorry. I'll get to that later. And number three, problems provide us with the financial and the relational opportunities, especially if we're the ones who solve them. So I want you to think right now, and we're going to work through this, but I want you to really think right now, what are some problems that you've been running away from? Or what have been some problems that have been, making you stressed out, stay up at night, things of that nature. You try to push them under the bed or pretend they don't exist and all of those things, right? What are some problems in your personal life? What are some problems in your professional life? What are some problems in your relationships? What are some things that you've just been putting off? And by the time this is done, I think you're going to stop putting it off. I think you're going to start finding a way to profit from it. So the first thing that we got to talk about is how problems help us to improve our capacity. How to improve our capacity. So one of the things that I've done and one of the things that I do is help businesses to improve their systems and help leaders to tap into their potential so that they can grow. And one of the things that I love to do is gathering feedback from their employees, feedback from their friends and family, feedback from online reviews, just finding ways of receiving feedback and data. Now, most of the time, I'm going to say all the time, most leaders hate negative reviews. I don't care if it's a negative Yelp review, negative Glassdoor review, negative review from an employee, a negative review from their manager. Everyone hates negative reviews. Why? Because none of us want to be seen, in a negative light. And I don't believe any of us go about our day and go about our business with the mindset of, you know what I'm going to do? I want to make some people angry. I want to do a terrible job. But you know what? There's times where we miss the mark. And so one of the things that happens when you look at those reviews is it indicates what part of your game is off. What part of your game is off? Now, the way that a negative review can be like a ding against your profits, fixing the things that are addressed in the review and finding the whys and the source of these problems, that's going to almost, for some of you, double your revenue. I'll give you an example. Let's say you have a business that has a review on Glassdoor or negative reviews on Yelp or what have you. We'll start with Glassdoor. Glassdoor are previous employees that leave you a review saying that there's something about what you're doing that they dislike. Now, here's some of the things that they point to. The first thing that they point to is one, are we setting the right expectations? Two, are we hiring the wrong people? Because sometimes you can hire a really great person. They're just not the right fit for your company or your organization or for leadership and things like that. And they have a really bad experience just because It's just not their jam. It's just not their jam. I've been in sales for almost my entire life, and I know just about anyone can sell if you teach them. But it doesn't mean that everyone belongs in a sales environment. It's like if I throw a raccoon in a pool, doesn't mean he can't swim, but he's sure going to have some complaints afterwards. But if you throw a beaver in there, he's going to build a dam, he's going to do this, he's going to do that with, very, very little complaint. Does that make sense? Except for all the chlorine or whatever. But you get what I mean. Because some of y'all are like, well, beavers aren't going to do this. No. You get what I'm saying. Okay? And so that's one of the things that it can point towards. It may point towards the fact that you may have a cultural problem. You may have a cultural problem. Sometimes, and I want to make sure I use the right word, because I wrote this word down and it's just... Sometimes these reviews can indicate the fact that you have a neurotic, toxic organization. And usually, it's when a company takes on the neurosis and the idiosyncrasies of the top executives. I'll give you an example. I remember in my first company in Greenville, South Carolina, I was like, why is there so much drama? Like, we can't get anything done because it's always this person did this and this person did that and this person did this and this person did that. And finally I was like, wait, am I the drama? Am I the drama? Jesus is like, yes. I'm glad you came to this conclusion. And so without realizing it, I was creating this dramatic culture. Why? Because I was dramatic. I was dramatic and messy. So of course we had difficulties getting things done because there was always this going on. And everyone wasn't being compassionate and kind all the time. Now, I'm a great person and I can be kind, but I was just dramatic. And so there's times where negative reviews from employees or sometimes from vendors, they will show you where there's some toxicity in your work culture, in your business culture. Our kids tell us where we have toxic tendencies in our households. It's okay to see the problem. But guess what? The review and everything, that's just the tip of it. That's just the top of the mountain. And I'll give you an example. I remember going on this Alaskan cruise, and when you get up there, like when you get north, those mountains are huge. So we're on this cruise. It's beautiful. Some of it looks like a scene from Vikings, like there's just going to be some Viking coming out in a ship anywhere next to us. But one of the things that I noticed, especially in the morning, that it was very, very foggy. So foggy that in the distance, you would have no idea that there was this huge mountain back there. And it was so far away too. This huge mountain in the distance. I need to Google what mountains they were, but anyway. And until you saw the top of the mountain. So you see all these clouds, you see all this fog, you see this beautiful water, mist coming up from the water. You're floating, you're going up, the sea, up the Pacific, everything. And there's this huge mountain back there, but you won't notice until you look all the way up and you see some ice caps and you're like, oh, hold on, wait. Thank God I'm not the person navigating this ship, because I would have hit that thing eventually, if you couldn't see it. And so problems are like that. They give us an opportunity to up our game. And they let us know when a problem exists. They let us know when a problem exists. And that's one of the best things that you can ever ask for. So here's the other side to it too. Because we're talking about how they increase our capacity. Problems in your business let you know where you need additional development and where you need additional support. And if you ignore them, you're not going to go out and get the extra development and the extra support. Clients who come to me, they come to me not in a place where they lack awareness. They come to a place because they're seeing these problems and they're like, okay, something's wrong and it's not something that I'm prepared to fix. And that's when you hire the right people, you bring in a consultant or you bring in a coach or you read a book or you get some great advice from trusted advisors and you just take that next step that's going to help you to improve your capacity. Once I realized that I was the drama, I had to go and watch some other people run their companies. I'm taking trips down to Atlanta, up to New York, all these different places, and watching the people that I trusted and that I believed in run their business. And I realized, I was like, okay, Yannick, you're doing the most every day. Just go in there and get the job done. Support the people, give them what they need, and go home. Turn on TV if you want some drama. So it's going to help you to increase your capacity. But getting back into the second reason that you want to do this, which is helping you to avoid complete disaster. Just like the example that I gave you with the mountains and being in Alaska. There are times to where a problem that pops up in your business, it's not so much of a problem as far as a nuisance. It's a little indicator. Hey, I'm trying to get your attention. And I'm trying to get your attention because if you go long enough without knowing that something's wrong, this whole ship will go down. So we'll use the employee example. You have, employees that are giving you bad reviews or they're complaining about this and complaining about that. If they never said anything, you just wake up one day and everyone's gone. I've seen it happen. I've had it happen to me. I've helped other people work through it. That comes from missing the indicators. And so we can't get upset when we miss those indicators. Now, here's the beauty of it. Every time you address one of those indicators that says something's wrong, typically when you fix it, you can immediately expect a return. Meaning if it's an issue in your culture, next thing you know, you improve the issue, you work on it, profits go up by 20 and 30%. We're not talking about small numbers. We're talking big numbers. Why? Because the emotional climate in the business is in a place to where your employees can get creative. They have, a great attitude and a smile for a customer. They're finding solutions on their own. When the emotional climate is great within a business, and the culture is great, you'd be amazed at how much people are willing to go the extra mile. When that climate's off, all people want to talk about is what's in their job description. They always have something to do, somewhere to go, and where y'all are just ain't it. So that's one example. Another example is maybe you're losing customers. And sometimes we'll see to where people leave, they cancel, they do this, they do that. And there's part of it is like a part of the course, But if you're seeing a decline in the number of people that are frequenting your business, then hey, something has happened. I've seen this too, to where customers leave and instead of the person saying, why are people leaving? They ignore the problem until all the customers are gone. But really what they didn't know was that Joe Schmo next door or down the street or in the next state or whatever that has that same company has innovated. And they're offering something that customers are like, you know what? This is just a better product. You want to make sure that you're aware of what's happening in the market and following the indicators to show, hey, this is what's happening. And it's going to force you to do more research. It's going to force you to really check in on your competitors. And it's going to make you think creatively. Like, okay, people are leaving. One, let me figure out why. And two, how can I make them a better offer? Because you can have an amazing offer from 3 years ago. And 3 years ago, it was the best thing. It was the top thing. It was what was trending. It was everything. And today, it's nothing. It can happen 6 months, in 6 months, a year, 5 days. And that's okay as long as you're on top of it. and that you're seeing the issue and just not putting your head in the sand and saying, I don't know why this is happening, or you're treating it as a nuisance or a reason to be anxious or anything like that. No, be anxious for nothing. Figure out what the situation is and what you can do to solve it. So that's another one. Same thing with customer complaints. I think there's like this new trend out that just doesn't work for business, and it's called blame the customer. Now, do I think every customer is a great customer? No. For instance, some of you will be like, Yannick, I want you to coach me, and we may be a great fit for each other. But sometimes after I meet with someone, we have a mini session, I give them what I have, I help them however we can. I may say, hey, I'm probably not the best fit for you, but let me give you a recommendation. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But customer complaints are important because they show us who our customer is. Everywhere you go, every market, every location, even every block has a different customer. I live in Atlanta. People are like, what neighborhood is good? What? It's street by street, honey. You can be on one street, everything's fine. The next street, you're like, what in the world is going on? Right? And yes, there are some great neighborhoods and things of that nature, but it really depends. And everywhere you go in this small place has a different vibe, and your customer is different. And so you will see, based on your customer complaints, who your customers are and what they truly desire. And they're also showing you maybe the areas where you thought you had a really quality product, and they're saying, no, you don't. And I read this in the Lean Startup, which makes perfect sense. It says, you don't know what a quality product is until you know who your customer is. Because guess what? You can think something's quality, but if the customer doesn't think it's quality, doesn't matter. You may think it's the best idea in the world. There's been times where I'm like, this is the best idea ever. Oh my gosh, this is so great. And people are like, nah, it's not that great. And your reviews and your feedback will let you know that, but you have to embrace it. And then when you get those reviews, you get those complaints, and you take it into consideration and you apply some things, then you can identify what a quality product is to your customer. Once you do that, because for every one complaint that you receive, there's probably 10, 20, 30 to 50 people that had that same complaint. They just didn't give you the benefit of the doubt, or they didn't even give you the option. They didn't even give you the feedback. They'll just watch you fall. People who provide feedback and complain are gems because they let us know where we're weak. They give us a high level of accountability. So look about that. Look at your revenue holes. Now, this is the thing. Sometimes we see holes in our revenue as like, oh, everyone in the business is just doing poorly, or this is a terrible product. Sometimes I've seen revenue holes mean that we need to push another product more. And it makes me look at, okay, well, what all are we selling here? What all are we providing? And it makes me be creative and get creative about different services and different offers, and really saying, okay, people really don't like this because they're not buying that much of this, but they love this. I consulted with a woman who had some amazing products. And this person was like, hey, how am I going to do this? I'm trying to keep up with inventory, da, 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 da. And I'm like, these things that you're offering, they're great products. It's just no one's buying them. So they're sitting on the shelf. They're going bad. They're doing all this. And it doesn't mean that they're great to where, maybe you can put more marketing dollars in it. But why not? Why not do more and bigger numbers with what people are showing you that they want? That other great product, use it on yourself. Use it on yourself enough to where maybe your customers are like, how did that happen? And then you do that. And then maybe you have more of a following, things of that nature. But that's what that does, right? So all of these examples are just, like I said, just the tip of the iceberg. There's so many other problems that can be happening, and that can happen in your company that indicate, hey, you have an opportunity to fix this problem and increase in productivity. Meaning the problem itself is just indicating where you need to plug up some things, where you need to do some work, where you need to get some advice, all of that. Now here's number 3. The number 3 is most important. I mean, the most important, okay? Problems provide you with financial and relational opportunities. So some of you guys are like in the space to where you're like, look, this ain't gonna cut it. I need to find an opportunity. I need to find a new lane or create an alternate lane or something like that. You know, maybe you have a job and you want to have a business, or maybe you have your business, but you need to expand. You need to do this. You need to do that. Problems always show you where you can advance. Problems demonstrate and indicate where there's some white space for you, meaning some areas that people aren't covering. Look, I'm not trying to get in a race with a million trillion people. I'm not. Now, if it's for you, it's for you, because everyone that's in the race shouldn't be running. But if I have an opportunity to carve out some space for myself and to fill a gap that most people don't want to fill, I'm going to do that. Why? Because it's going to have a lot of great opportunity. And my belief is always, when everyone else goes right, you go left. You go left. Now, here's an example. The bigger the problem, the more money it pays. And if you want to elevate your life, you've got to find a way to solve bigger problems. I'll give you an example from my life. So you guys know I started my career in sales, and then I started working behind the scenes. I realized, you know what? I don't know if every day I want to manage people, doing this, doing that, whatever. But what I do want to do is help people bring their visions to life and to do better on a larger scale. And I realized, look, I am not an elementary school teacher. Like if I were to teach, I need to teach adults. You know, like everyone can't teach kindergarten. Some people have to do high school. And in the business world, that's where I was. It's like, look, I want to work with the people that have already proven at a certain level that they want this. Now, what I ran into was the organization that I was with. Wonderful organization, great people, but they had a huge problem to where sales business, they had huge targets. And I found that maybe 60% of the people running these businesses, the executives, the managers, everyone, about 60% of them weren't hitting their targets. 60%. And these include the entrepreneurs, the intrapreneurs, everyone. 60% of them weren't hitting their targets. Now, here's the thing. It is my general belief that people don't get into anything to fail and to fall behind. No one does. And if they do find themselves falling behind or failing, there's a reason for it. Now, most people are like, well, you know, if you really wanted it, you'll do this, you'll do that. Yeah. I get that. But even for like the most irrational and dysfunctional behavior, there's always a rational reason why they're demonstrating that. So if you have someone that's constantly late, or someone that is demotivated, or they have bad habits, or, you know, whatever it is, there's always a reason behind it. It's not just that. And so I said, you know what, instead of me complaining about this and just constantly, you know, setting off the alarm of like, hey, this is happening, I decided to take it on. And it started off with one person. Now, I didn't just say, oh, this is a problem, let me fix it. I also thought about, why does this problem exist? Well, one, most companies are great, if not okay, with training. Most companies have at least basic training. Most companies do not have a lot of development happening. So training tells you what you should be doing or how you should do it. Development is more of mindset work and making sure that the person who's leading is growing and that their capacity is equal to what their expected output is supposed to be. So if you have someone whose output is supposed to be, I don't know, $2 million a year in sales, I don't know, them and their organization or whatever the number is, 10 million, whatever. But their capacity, you've brought them to the point to where they can do it, but you're increasing their expectations, but you're not really increasing their capacity on a consistent basis. I know that that's not going to meet up. You've got to really put time into increasing this person's capacity in order for those two areas to meet. Otherwise, you're going to be upset. You're going to be really upset. And so I asked myself, well, why don't they do this? And I realized, one, everyone doesn't understand people. Everyone doesn't understand the psychology of humans. Everyone doesn't have the patience. Everyone doesn't have the compassion. But most importantly, most people don't have the time. And they're like, look, by the time I work with you, I'm just going to try to find, one person who's going to get it easily. I don't have time to train you. So let me just try to find someone who's just going to get it a little bit faster and hope that they can keep up. But when I looked at the numbers, and I do this all the time, I review data, and I looked at the numbers, I was like, look, even if we get these people from average to just regular good, it's still going to save you and generate more money than just this handful of people. And so I had to take the time to fill in that gap. And I started working with these people and putting in the time and growing them and developing them. And then I asked myself, hey, what's the scale of this problem? Meaning, how much is fixing this problem worth? How much is it worth? And then I'd ask in return, as far as revenue is concerned, for a percentage of that. Because guess what? If I don't fix the problem, you're not going to get the money in the first place. And that's how I want you to think about problems. Problems are always opportunity in really annoying forms. Just really, really, really annoying, nerve-wracking forms. But guess what? You're a leader. And leaders are called to solve problems. A leader is someone who sees an opportunity and they see what something can be and they decide to cultivate it. Big ups to Brene Brown. I loved her definition of that. And so what I want you to do is I want you to think of some problems. Because guess what? If you want to be a millionaire, you've got to be able to solve $1 million problems. If you want to be a billionaire, you've got to be able to solve $1 billion problems. Thousandaire, hundredaire, whatever it is, you've got to be able to solve a problem. I'll give you another example. And look, and the scale of the problems decide how quickly you are going to get to your desired result. So for instance, the difference, and I hope none of you guys learn this lesson. I hope none of you learn this lesson. The difference between a plumber and a master plumber is the size of the problem. You call a plumber, maybe they may charge you $150, $200 to fix the toilet, or you got a leaky pipe or something, a pipe burst that needs to be replaced or whatever. You may come out of pocket $200, $250, maybe if you're in a small town, $150, if it's a small job, something like that. Maybe on the higher end, $800, something like that. Plumber. If you have a big problem, a big plumbing problem, you're going to have to call a master plumber. The master plumber is not leaving without at least $800. I'm going to say $1,000. If they've got to dig into something and get the line from the street here and do this and do that and do that, you're going to have to call a master plumber. And that's the difference. The master plumber has to solve big problems. And I just use that as an example because we've all seen that. We've heard of them, what have you. And so what I want you to do is I want you to start, one, thinking about your vision. Think about your vision. What is it that you want? And if you don't know what you want, I have a course online about vision. Take it, because knowing what you want is the beginning portions of all progress. Otherwise, you're not going to be motivated to do anything. Vision is that gas that you put in your tank. Like, I want to go there. If you don't want anything, you probably don't have anything. I mean, I don't mean wanted enough to get up and go get it. If you don't have something that burns in you, that gives you a sense of purpose, a sense of confidence, look, I'm just going to get up and do this. I'm going to get up here and record this video. I'm going to get up and do this, go there, meet with these people, whatever. If you don't have a vision, you're most likely just sitting on the couch watching Netflix for 4 weeks straight. Going to the job, doing a halfway decent job, or binging whatever, right? That's probably what you're doing. That's not what you're going to do when you have a vision. So the first thing I need you to do is establish a vision. But the second part to it is, based on your vision and what you want, what problems are you willing to solve? What problems are you willing to solve? So this is the point which I'm going to help you to figure out how to profit from problems. So the first thing is, I want you to ask yourself, what's lacking in my current industry, community, or the marketplace, wherever you are? Whether your market is the world, whether it's in your hometown, in your neighborhood, in your industry, what's lacking? What's lacking? What is missing? What's that thing that gets on your nerves? What's that thing where you're like, why is this even a problem? This doesn't even make sense. I love that. That's where I get my ideas from. When I say to myself, nothing about this makes sense. And I'm looking at the data and I'm looking at the issue and I'm talking to people, I'm like, none of this makes sense. This is stupid. That's your problem to fix. And the second question I want you to ask yourself is, how big is the problem? Now, if you downloaded the workbook, I should have said this earlier. There's a workbook in the description. And so you can write this out. The reason I always put workbooks with everything is because writing is cathartic. And writing will help you get your ideas and it clears up that fog and you put it down. And also you'll be able to refer to it later. So if you look in the workbook, it's something like this. I add mine to GoodNotes so I can write directly onto it, but it's in there, download it, it's for you. So the second question I ask myself is, how big is this problem? How big is the problem? And how much pain does it cause? So if you solve a problem that has a small pain point, then you're going to make small money. Now, you can decide to do that if there's enough people willing to pay for this small pain point being fixed. And if you're willing to market in a way that's able to get out to enough people to where, maybe 10,000 people have a dollar pain point. I don't know. You get to choose. But the more pain it causes, the bigger the payout. The third question to ask yourself is, why hasn't anyone solved this problem? For me, I recognize that it was a skill-based thing and a belief-based issue. Because I truly just don't believe that people want to do terrible. Like if you're watching this video, you may be struggling with problems in your business. I know you don't want to struggle. You just need a strategy that's going to work. But why hasn't anyone solved it? For me, I recognize it was a time issue. Sometimes it's just, people just don't have the time. There's so many other things happening. They just need help. Sometimes you just get overwhelmed and you need help. It's not that you can't, it's just you don't have time to get to that last thing. It could be like having a housekeeper or having a cook or something like that, right? The fourth question is, based on your observations and your experience, what should be done? Meaning, how should this problem be solved? Meaning your solution has to make sense as well. Your solution can't cause more problems. Your solution also can't contribute to the number one reason why it hasn't been solved in the first place. So for instance, for me, I knew it was a time and a belief thing. So if I believed, hey, you know what? Most people want to do well. I had to treat every person as though I know they want to do well, despite the dysfunctional traits that they may be demonstrating, or despite what they're portraying or what's happening. But also I knew that it was a timing thing. So if I'm saying, hey, I'm going to help your organization fix this, I don't want it to be to where I'm taking up all of your time to fix it, because you didn't fix it in the first place because you didn't have the time. So I said, look, I've got to be able to get through to people, be compassionate, believe in them, and also do it in a way that makes sense to where whoever the higher up is, whoever is involved, I'm not taking up all of their time. I've got to find a way to slide this in and to be a little fly on the outside, watching, observing, getting feedback, and not disrupting while also fixing this. Number 3, what gifts and skills do you have that make you an ideal leader to solve this issue? Now, this is my way of saying, hey, this is why I'm the person for the job. So for me, I've been an entrepreneur. I failed as an entrepreneur. I've succeeded. I'm succeeding. I've been an entrepreneur. I've done poorly. I've done very well. So I know what it feels like to feel as though you're failing and having to pull yourself out of that. I also know what it's like to succeed and do dumb stuff with your money. I know, I know the full gambit of what that looks like. So it's very easy for me to work to and to relate to people who are going through challenges. And I've already come up with systems and solutions that work, and I know how to innovate when necessary. That's what makes me ideal. And lastly, people just like me. You might be watching this and you say, like, she gets on my nerves. But if we were to meet, I might still get on your nerves. But you'd be like, you know what? She gets on my nerves, and I still like her. She has an annoying voice, but here I am still listening to this video. That's just what it is. That's just what it is. So it's easy for people to open up to me. And also, I'm not judgmental, but that's because I've failed a lot. So and people are like, well, what all have you failed at, or what all have you done wrong? I'm like, name something. That's it. Just name something. All right. The next question is, what's at stake? Meaning, what happens if this problem persists? If this doesn't go away, what does it mean for your client, for the community, for the marketplace, for the customer, for whomever? What does it mean? That's also a really good way to pitch this to your potential client. Hey, if this doesn't get fixed, you guys are going to lose out on blah, 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 millions of dollars. If this doesn't get fixed, you're going to have a whole generation of children who blah, 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 blah. If this doesn't get fixed, you're going to die. Or if this doesn't get fixed, fill in the blank. But you have to really identify it. Remember, the bigger the pain point, the more the payout. And if you want to know, that's how you become the it person. That's when you know you're doing your thing. Is when people have a big problem, they're okay with calling you. Now, let me tell you what this isn't when I say that, because I have to make this really, really clear. I even wrote this down just to make sure I didn't forget. This isn't people pawning off all of their responsibility and every sense of accountability and everything else that they should be doing off on you. This is not you being anyone's rag doll. This is not you being a slave to anyone. No, we're talking about in the marketplace, in a place where you get returns. There's some dividends and something in it for you. If there's nothing in it for you, my dear, beloved, right? That's not the type of problem you should be solving unless you're called to that in your personal life, like with your family and things like that. But I'm not telling you to become someone's emotional punching bag and to just let people use you. No. We're talking about ways of making dividends. Remember, this is problems to profit. And the second thing that this isn't, I don't know, am I going to go into the second thing? I feel like you get it. I feel like you get it. And if you don't get it, just send me a message and ask me what the second thing is, because I don't want to get in trouble. All right. So what's at stake? What happens if the problem persists? Now, based on that, you have everything you need to build from. You've got a problem, one that is important, one that's been going unsolved, and you know why it's been going unsolved. You know why you're the person for it. So you've got a pitch. All of this is a pitch. You know, and you're able to make it make sense to your ideal customer, your marketer, what have you. I watched the Super Bowl, and I love not the Super Bowl, the Grammys, the musical Super Bowl. And Airbnb had a commercial, and it was basically saying, look, you're going on this vacation, you're going to your hotel room. Do you want to have to go to bed with your kids? Meaning like if kids' bedtime is 7 p.m., you got to go to bed at 7 p.m. too because all the lights are on, all this, and you're in this one room, whatever. And and then they're like, look, here's Airbnb. And they had like this little cartoon of a house. And it's like the kids were up in bed asleep and the parents were downstairs watching TV, cooking, dancing, doing whatever. And I'm like, that is the perfect pitch. It's a problem. They have a solution. They know what's at stake. They know what it's worth. So they spent probably $1 million to put it out there into the world. So I love it. So you have everything that you need to turn your problems into profit. And you can do this to fix the issues within your company. And you can use this as a method to create a new company. Oh, and I'd love to say this too. Every problem that you find a solution to within your business, within your industry, do you think you're the only company that has that problem? So let's say you run a real estate company and you find this issue with, I don't know, leads or something like that. And you're like, man, this is really crazy. And you got to put a lot of time and effort into finding a solution for it. Now you've got two businesses within one. You've got whom you're selling their houses to, and you've got other real estate agents and realtors that you're selling said solution to. So now you're selling to, other agents, you're selling to consumers or commercial, real estate purchasers, whomever. But now you've got even more streams of revenue. So I'm saying all this to say there is a way to turn your problems into profit, but you have to change your mentality about it. Don't always look at it as a nuisance. Look at it as something that's going to usher you in to help you to become more creative, to help you to become more industrious, to help you to elevate, to do all of those things. And it's also going to give you a lane to separate yourself from the others. And last but not least, I want you to take this challenge. The first challenge is asking yourself, what is your first step to stepping up to the challenge? Meaning answering and identifying the problem and finding the solution. What's your first step? Write it down and give it a deadline. Like, okay, I need to go and contact so-and-so. Okay, write it down. Give it a deadline. When are you going to call them? I would say call them today. If they don't answer, leave a message. My second challenge is, who can hold you accountable moving forward? It is really easy to, and it's all of us, it's really, really easy for us to give up on ourselves and to just say, oh, I can't do it. Da, 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 da. Like we'll go in this self-deprecating mode and we'll just do that. It is very hard to give up on someone else. So we can give up and not tell anyone that we gave up, but it's really hard to look someone else in the face that's holding us accountable and saying, I give up. We don't like to do that. So my challenge is, who can hold you accountable moving forward? Write their name and contact them. Now, I think it's me because I'm really good at holding people accountable. But even if you don't think it's me, find someone. Find someone. Now, if you do think it's me, there's a couple of ways that you can do it. One, you can apply to be a private client of mine. All you have to do is schedule a mini session. We'll talk. You come to the table with one problem. I'll give you some solutions. And then we'll go from there of deciding if we want to continue, the relationship. And that's typically for people who have businesses or ideas that they've kind of already fleshed out. They're ready to take to the next level. The second way of doing it is by joining my group, the New Luminaries. I think if you want to be a private client, you should also be a part of the New Luminaries because it's collaborative and everyone that's in the group is amazing. It's a small group. We meet every week and I teach them things like this, except for you can ask questions. And I'm going to speak directly into your situation because at that point, I know your situation and I can hold you accountable and I can track things for you. And we can, do all of these things, but more in a group effort. And you can ask questions because I know I'm kind of going with stuff and you're like, well, what about this? And what about this? And you can't really ask YouTube a question and it get directly to me unless you just type it in the comments. And I can only type but so much. So just join. And the third way is for you to just join the email group. Maybe you don't want any interaction. Maybe you just want to watch. Join the email list. I send out information that you can follow and apply to your life. So, friend, I pray that everything goes well. And just know that no matter what happens, God is going before you and he's going to help you work it out. And I'm just giving you some strategy and some wisdom to apply while you're on the way there. So have a great day and I'll see y'all next week.